I'm going to be sharing an article that I wrote on my blog, Forever 80s blog. It's on WordPress.com. It's called What Happened to Club Kid Christina Superstar. If you remember the Club Kids from back in the 80s, probably anyone around my age and they're around will remember. Um, but I'm very interested in finding out any information on her life or her death, as are a lot of other people I noticed that comment on the videos, the few videos of her online. But so here we go with the article. In the late 80s, the New York club scene was the stomping ground of the club kids, led by Michael Alec, who was a party promoter at the Limelight, with over-the-top costumes and makeup that sometimes bordered on the grotesque and wild behavior. The club kids became a draw for New York nightlifers. They were paid and given drugs to show up in drag, not always drag, but in elaborate costumes, and give people something to gawk at. This, of course, had the effect of turning these club kids into national pseudo-celebrities, appearing on national talk shows like Donahue, and Geraldo Rivera. Geraldo Rivera is where I saw the club kids for the first time, and I remember it vividly because it was the first time that I had seen something quite like that. In the years to follow, the club kids have moved on, some with a degree of success, but others haven't fared so well, like Michael Alec, who pled guilty to a charge of manslaughter for his involvement in the murder of fellow club kid Andre Angel Menendez in October of '97. Alec received a 20-year sentence for which he served just shy of 17 years before he was paroled in May of 2014. Since this article has been written, he has been again arrested for drug possession. I believe it was on government property in Brooklyn. Anyway, what's been completely overshadowed by Alec's manslaughter charge was the tragic and mysterious death of the twisted drag queen Christina, who often wore a straight blonde wig, red lipstick, and a heavy German accent. She was portrayed in the 2002 movie Party Monster by singer Marilyn Manson. Manson said of Christina, Christina was just a bizarre, complete creation of her own and Michael's. This was during a 2002 interview. Michael Musto published an article on papermag.com in March of 2015 where he listed Christina as one of the 12 most nightmarish people in New York City nightlife history. This is what Musto wrote. I was sort of captivated by this strung-out German transsexual, but she never made any sense, and the fact that she seemed more doomed than the Lambada really depressed me. And then there was that night at the tunnel when she swung her birthday cake knife around at the crowd. Oh, doll. So again, I don't know whether this is true or not, but this is sadly the only information available. Fellow club kid James St. James had a less flattering description of 2003 book Disco Bloodbath on Christina, an abomination of nature, like those frogs born with their eyes in their throats, also saying that she has testicles falling well below her hemline, as well as pointy stretched out boobies from past hormone dabbling, as reported by The Observer, Club Kids on the Skids by Simon Doonan. Just a side note about James St. James, I find really anything he says to be dubious at best. He always seems to me to be under the influence of something. And if you've ever watched any of his red carpet interviews that he has done for YouTube, he just doesn't seem like he's not a guy I would want to get to know. In episode 18 of PU, this is Michael Alec's channel on YouTube, Michael Alec described St. James' allegation that Christina kept children in her room as a hallucination. I went to her apartment a lot. I never saw any children there. When Alec was asked whether Christina's accent was real, he replied no, she was German, but she was actually from Pittsburgh. He continued, she was an English teacher, and she just all of a sudden decided to become a woman, so it was a big scandal where she was from. Michael went on to say that Christina's wealthy parents simply paid her to leave. They paid for Christina's rent and all of her bills as long as she would simply stay away. Christina's friend Nelson Sullivan, a filmmaker who made her one of his favorite subjects, seemed to be one of Christina's only real friends. Sullivan said of Christina on June 1st, '89, "Did you hear about Christina? She's dead. They found Christina in the hotel room at the Chelsea the other day. It's horrible. She's my good friend, and now she's gone. I'm upset." Based on Nelson's statement, we can conclude that Superstar died around the end of '89 May, possibly the 29th or the 30th. Nelson himself died of a heart attack a month later on July 4th. 1989. If you're on YouTube, you can go to Fifth Avenue Project. It has a huge cache of his videos, and she's in a lot of them. He has most of the content on Christina, and it gives you a very interesting glimpse into her. This is a side note. Also, it does also show you the her deterioration over at the time that they knew each other as well. DangerousMinds.net uploaded an article on March 15th, 2013, titled Nelson Sullivan, Pioneering Chronicler of New York City Nightlife in the 80s, claiming that Sullivan had discovered Christina at the Chelsea Hotel after her suicide. Nelson Sullivan's own comments would seem to dispute this claim, that he discovered her. His full comments can be viewed on the YouTube channel Fifth Avenue Project, which can be found in the video, The Club Kids Field Trip to Washington, D.C. in 1989. As for whether or not she committed suicide, there's sadly very little information about it at all. And then I published an update because I did find some additional information. In episode 251 of PU, which can be found on YouTube, or michaelellig.com if you're so inclined to go, former Club Kid leader Michael received a question about his reaction to Christina's death. Was he indifferent to it, like was portrayed in the 2002 movie Party Monster, or was he shaken to the core? Here is how Alec responded. I wasn't indifferent or shaken to my core. He went on to say, it wasn't exactly what was expected, but it wasn't a shock either. She was kind of teetering on the edge at that point. Alec then described some of the events leading up to her death. She'd gotten in all that trouble at the Pyramid. She poked a guy in the eye with a microphone stand at one of her shows at the Pyramid, and the police were looking for her. The guy charged her with assault, and she was afraid of going to prison, so she was hiding out at the Chelsea Hotel. By this point, Alex says that Christina wasn't talking to anyone, and was kind of lapsing into this state of, like, psychotic, it didn't come as much of a shock to anyone. While it doesn't prove that she committed suicide, it does prove a potential motive for Christina to end her life. It should be noted that although the text in the video says Alec reacts to Christina's suicide, in the actual video, he never actually claims that she committed suicide. And the question itself does not ask about suicide, but rather his reaction to her death. So really, there is not enough information. There is, however, enough information to conclude that Christina was not only a drag queen by profession, but was also living as a transgender woman, so going out day-to-day and living day-to-day life as Christina. She was also clearly a vulnerable target to the people she came in contact with on a daily basis. This was documented in Nelson Sullivan's video on YouTube channel, Fifth Avenue Project again. This is an example from the video Christina Screen Test. In her own words, speaking to Sullivan, she says, quote, "How embarrassed I was when I saw those last films you took of me after I realized that someone had thrown acid in my face." Christina continued, "You think the people who threw acid in my face were fabulous people, right?" Again, not conclusive, but video documentation of Christina by Nelson Sullivan does provide evidence of her plight. Again, you can also see simply how people react to her in the videos that he took. That it is also possible that maybe she met her end at someone else's hands. But that's really all the information that I've been able to find about her. If you have any information that I missed, you can comment and let me know, because I am interested in finding out more. Or if the information I have is incorrect, let me know as well. I do realize that when you're dealing with Club Kid sources, specifically Alec and St. James, that their credibility is dubious at best. So thank you for watching.